I am well. Thank you.
Yes. Tell me, where is home?
Home is Limpopo in the area called Beggarsford, Practiceer.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, what degrees do you have?
I've got a BProc from the
Maybe you should include the diplomas as well.
Oh yeah, I will. I've got a BProc from the University of Limpopo, but it was Terfloop then. And I've got an LLB from Wits, and I've got LLM from Rau, and I've got higher
Was
diploma.
it still Rau then?
It was still round. Oh, by the way, now it's
Franza Afrikaanse Universiteit.
indeed it was. And I've got higher diploma in labor law, also obtained from Rau, but now UJ. And I've got a diploma in corporate law, also from UJ, but at the time it was still Rau.
Yes. Now, in your own words, just tell us, what do you believe has prepared you for the position you have applied for?
I believe, Chief Justice, firstly, the studies that one had been involved in up to a point of having a master's degree in labor law, and the fact that I had acted in the labor court for almost 10 years, and that I believe had prepared me rather, for the position of being a judge.
And for how long have you practiced law?
I've been in practice for the past 22 years, if I'm not mistaken, from 1995 when I was admitted as an attorney.
And did your practice extend to appearance in the labor court or not?
Yes, I have appeared in the labor court a couple of times, in the labor appeal court, as well as the high court. The only court that I have not made an appearance was the apex court, which is the constitutional court.
Yes.
But other courts I have made an appearance.
Personally or with counsel?
Personally.
Yes.
Yes.
And are you able to produce judgments within the period you consider reasonable? And if so, what is a reasonable period? What is your idea of a reasonable period?
Okay, my idea of a reasonable period is about between 3 weeks and 4 weeks. That will be ideal, and also depending on the complexity of the matter. But ideally, it will be not more than a month.
Yes. I see that you are a branch member of the ANC. What's going to become of that membership should you be recommended for appointment?
Yeah, actually what happened is I had put it in my application. I was a branch member in 2002, and when I started acting, then I actually forgo that membership. It was in Midrand, and I relocated to Hartbees. So since
It
then,
reminds us of certain things, but that's not where we are.
yeah. So as a result, I have not been involved.
You haven't renewed.
I haven't renewed membership ever since.
Yeah.
I think it had lapsed a long time ago when I started acting.
Yes. And have you, I forgot to, I didn't quite get the answer. Have you generally been able to deliver your judgments within what you consider to be the ideal turnaround time?
Indeed, I know that I've been acting for 10 years, as I said, but I don't recall very well.
Not continuously, though.
Not continuously, but
Yes.
I've always been in court for a term.
Yes.
So I have been unless if I get reminded of some matter that I had delayed the judgment, but
Yes.
I have been consistent
Have you
to
reached
my
that-
knowledge.
Have you reached the point where you are now comfortable whenever you serve as a high court, a labor court judge, no anxiety, no concern?
I believe so because I have been consistently called back to assist in that court.
Yes.
And I didn't have any difficulties,
Yes.
to be honest.
Acting Judge President Tlaletsi, over to you.
Thank you, Chief Justice, and good morning, Mr. Moshoana.
Morning, DJP.
Yeah. Just to take you through your acting stints in the labor court from the records that I could lay my hands on, it started in 2007, wherein you acted for the first and the third term.
Indeed.
And then in 2008, you acted for the first and the fourth term, full terms.
That is insofar as I can recollect as
And then
well.
2009, first and fourth term.
Yes, that's correct.
2010, first and second term.
Yes, I recall.
And 2011, you did not give us more of your time. You only took the third term.
Yes, it could be correct,
And
out
twen-
of memory.
2012, only the second term.
Yes,
And then 2013, you did it, your stints 20th January to the 25th of March.
yes,
And in that period, you did 4 weeks of motion court, 3 weeks of trial, and you did the agent court.
indeed. That accords with my recollection, DJ.
And the same year, 7th April to the 11th of May, you did 2 weeks of motion court, 2 weeks of trial, and 1 week of agent court.
Indeed.
And in 2016, from the 19th April to the 24th of June, you did 4 weeks of motion court, both Johannesburg and Port Elizabeth.
Indeed, that's according to my recollection.
And
too.
then you did 5 weeks of trial court.
That's my recollection.
And thereafter, agent court, you did 1 week.
Indeed, DJP.
We were fortunate to have you this year, 2017, 30th January to the 31st March. You did 5 weeks of motion court.
Indeed,
And second, 2 weeks of trial
yes.
and 2 weeks of agent court.
Unfortunately,
You
I
did
thought
not
I was
complain.
being tested. But
Yes.
anyway,
Yeah.
yes.
Just one thing that I want to clear with, we are on the issue of the average period within which you deliver your judgments. A sampling by the GCB at page 146.
Do I have access to the documents or?
It will be this one. The document, feedback from law bodies.
Okay, at what, under my name.
Under
Yes.
your name, and then you go to page 145.
Doesn't look like the,
Yeah, give me yours.
oh, okay. Yes. Thank you, DJP.
Just check. Yeah, under page 145. The
Yes.
candidate's ability to produce judgments promptly. They say ordinarily you produce your written judgments within a week after a conclusion of the hearing.
Indeed,
And
indeed.
if you have delayed at 146, they say the candidate has taken slightly longer than the average of 1 week, but has still produced judgments promptly, having regard to all the circumstances.
Indeed, that I can confirm.
Okay. And then something to cover with you on your disclosure
Yes.
at paragraph 19 of the questionnaire.
Where do I find it? I'm trying-
Your questionnaire that you completed.
Yes, I'm trying to find it. Maybe I can be assisted. Could be, oh yes, page 19. Oh, yes.
Yes. There is a disclosure that you make there that some 5 years into the partnership, there was some problem with the Law Society, in which they instituted an application to have your name struck off the roll. However, the court issued a suspension, which was suspended for 3 years.
Yes.
Yes. And when did this happen, if you recall? You say 5 years into practice.
Yeah, I'm again, out of memory, I'm looking at about 99, 2000.
2000. Ever since, you've never had anything to do with the Law Society in this manner.
In this manner, no. In
And the
this manner,
clearance certificate indicates there's nothing pending against you
Indeed.
from the Law Society.
indeed.
Yes. And then I see that in your form, you do not really disclose the number of judgments that you've written that have been reported. Do you have anything to share with the commission on that?
Yes, I have. This morning, I just went to Safli and tried to draw some of the judgments that has my name. I'm looking at what I have printed is in the region of about 77 reported judgments.
77.
Yes.
I see. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Acting Judge. President, Mr. Njalinjali.
Thank you and good afternoon. I
is
just
it-
want, good
okay.
morning. I just want to check what take you so long to be interested to this position that you have applied. You have been acting for 10 years, of course, in different breaks, written about judgment that you have done. Why now, if I may want to ask?
Look, Commissioner, as I had indicated to the Chief Justice, I feel at this point in time that I am ready to be able to assist and actually deal with the deliverance of justice in the country. And in the previous years, of course, the views were held that I was ready, but I didn't feel that I am ready at the time. But now I believe that I am ready. That is the reason why it took me so long.
I thought you said you have made a lot of money to be an advocate. Now you can come and say,
He means he was not financially ready.
Yes, indeed. Perhaps I should have said that.
Have you finished, Mr. Njalinjali?
Yes.
Thank you. Acting President Maya.
Good morning, Mr. Moshoana.
Morning, Acting President.
I just want to ask you about one aspect raised in the comments submitted to the JSC by the professional bodies, and this one is from the GCB, I think. And they have actually asked us to raise this with you.
Yes.
Some years ago, you had an incident with the Law Society. You faced a striking off application, and can you just tell us about that incident and what the circumstances were?
All right. Thank you, Acting President. As I have indicated to the DJP of the Labor Court, at that time, and this is purely out of memory, I was 5 years into partnership practice, and at the time we had probably a lot of energy and thought we can have a number of practices. We had a number of branches. Now, it so happened that we at the time, we didn't comply with certain requirements for accounting, raising fee journals, and so on, until the Law Society, at that time, they had a unit that they had put in place, which had the surprise visit to practices, and I'm talking year 98, 99, and then they picked up that there were no fee journals that were done on a trimester. So as a result, the a gentleman by the name of Vincent Faris, I think at the time, was then appointed to conduct some investigation and produced a report, which report suggested that some disciplinary steps should be taken against us for not complying with the fee journals or the accounting procedures. And indeed, there was that disciplinary hearing to which, if my memory serves me well, we pleaded guilty because there were indications that certain records were not kept timeously. And we attributed that at the time to the 3 branch offices. We had an office in Pretoria, and we had an office in Tzaneen, and we had an office, if not 4, actually, yes, and in Brongospruit, and we also had an office in Beggersford. So there were many matters that we were dealing with. It then turned out that what had happened is that when a matter is completed, a partner who would have been responsible for the office in Beggersford would raise a fee out of the same matter, and because there were no proper recording, another partner would raise a fee. But at the end, it turned out that it was just an accounting issue, and then the Law Society decided to take it to council. I mean, the disciplinary committee rather, took it to council, then council decided at the time that it is appropriate to bring an application to actually strike us off the role of attorneys. But given the circumstances that I had explained, the judges who had the application found it appropriate that, and it was, if I recall, again out of memory, the matter came to court some 3 or 5 years later after the incident. And at that time, the situation that led us to that a particular position had been resolved in a sense. And all of those facts were presented to the judges who were hearing the application, and refused to grant the strikeout that was sought by the Law Society, and ended up with a suspension that was suspended. So, and I think primarily because there was no fidelity fund that had to pay any funds. I think that was the consideration, but I'm just out of recollection of the incident. So that in brief was were the circumstances.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me just get something clear. I don't want to sit with the impression that with a lack of appreciation as to whether you accept that you've done something wrong, or you don't wholeheartedly accept that there's something wrong that you had done. What is your position? Did you do something wrong? Or was there some unfairness in the manner in which the issue was handled? What is your position?
Chief Justice, as I have pointed out, when the matter came before the disciplinary body, the plea that was tendered, out of my recollection, was that of guilty, because indeed there were records that were not kept in accordance with the accounting requirements at the time.
Yes.
So indeed, that to me was an indication that we did something wrong by not complying with the internal accounting record keeping.
Yes.
So to this day, that is still my position.
You're not seeking to water it down or explain it in some way. You accept it unreservedly.
Unreservedly.
As wrongdoing on your part.
Indeed,
Okay.
at the time,
Okay.
yes, even to this day.
All right, okay. Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Moshoana. You're excused.
Oh, thank you.
Was that too soon?
I'll rather leave before I leave. Yeah, those cases. Oh. Let me leave before I read.